You guys look like... What do they look like, Jimmy?
Dorks. They look like a couple of dorks.
Get those birds!
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What? Are you kidding? We got us some family here.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast, the official podcast of the Alamo Drafthouse, Winchester.
Welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast. Joining me is Lisa Gullickson, wife dork.
If I wanted a joke, I would have followed you to the John and watched you take a leak.
Oh, and also joining us is Brad Gullickson, mouth dork.
Hots for bots. Keep bots warm.
And I'm your host, Darren Smith, the disco dork. Yes, she's filling your head full of fear. I'll pump you up full of strength. Because we're a team and I know you got what it takes. You're a fucking star and I know it. That's why I'm here. I'm your cheerleader, honey boy. And welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast. Yay!
Right up until when you said the word honey boy, I was like, is this the Equestria Girls? Is friendship magic? I'm not sure.
What? You know about that show?
Yes, because I do have nieces.
Ah, okay.
And Brad watched an entire season of The Toys That Made Us in one day.
Oh.
It's only 4 episodes.
I just showed Brian the Ninja Turtle and Power Ranger episode
it's a good
today.
episode.
Yeah.
I learned something new from that Ninja Turtles episode.
What?
I did not realize that Kevin Eastman had shared had sold his rights
stakes.
back to Peter Laird.
Yeah.
That when Peter Laird then sold to Nickelodeon, Peter Laird got all $60 million and Eastman got nothing.
Nothing.
I had no idea about that.
Burn.
I knew there was, some rivalry between the two, but
Yeah.
I didn't know. I had not a dollar figure on that rivalry.
Yeah.
It's just a lesson in do not wash your hands of any of your intellectual properties
Yeah.
because
Keep
it
a
will
hold.
bite
Keep
you
a
in the
hold,
butt.
Yeah. And because it's interesting, because he even says on the episode where he's like, look, all the problems that I had with Peter Laird were on my end. I was a young kid who didn't know any better, and I have a lot of regret about all of that.
Yeah.
And he took the onus on that relationship shattering, and I thought that was like really moving.
It's a big deal, right?
Big
yeah.
deal.
And it was so touching seeing them reunite at the
Yeah,
end. Yeah, that
yeah.
was really good because you could see how much, what affinity that Peter still had for him and how it pleased him to be able to be reunited with his friend because they
Yeah.
had like a really strong history. They went through a lot together.
a lot
I
of money over those silly little turtles.
I cannot imagine having like the terrible decisions I made in my 20s cost like $60 million.
Bruh.
Like the time that I ate all of my roommate's gorp, that did not cost me $60 million.
$60 million. He got nothing. Oh my god.
And but then when like Nickelodeon's like, hey, you want to come consult on this? He's like, yes.
Yeah. I won't screw up twice. Yeah. Oh,
Is
man.
someone making more turtle pies?
Right?
Yes, please. Nom, nom, nom.
All right. We are Shy. Speaking of turtles, we are Shy the Turtle Dork. So that means the lovely wife dork gets to start us off in sharing her week in dork. How was your week in dork?
My week in Dork has been kind of uneventful. I had a massive migraine week.
Boring.
The autumn is a bad time for me and my brain.
Yeah.
My husband is very sympathetic to it, very comforting.
Same old.
But we have been rewatching some classics.
Yeah.
I watched Minor League
No,
for the first
it's
time.
Major League.
Whatever.
Lisa.
Whatever.
And it is a classic.
Was that a bit or was that real?
It was real. I don't know what that movie is called. I didn't find it particularly engaging.
No.
Yeah, there was too much sports.
Corbin Burnson, Wesley Snipes, Charlie Sheen.
You didn't like the camaraderie amongst those ragamuffins?
Those
No.
jocks, those bros.
Willie Mays Hayes, Wesley Snipes, he's so cute.
Wesley Snipes is super cute. You
Yeah.
don't see that kind of like happy-go-lucky Snipes character very often.
Not too often.
No,
Yeah, not too often. Yeah.
He's got such a sweet face.
Yeah.
He all right.
Yeah.
I had a blast introducing that to Lisa until I realized that Lisa was not having it.
it.
She was so not into it.
Yeah.
3.5 stars.
Baby Charlie Sheen is fascinating, but like in like a scientific way. Like in like a chemical, like what's going on here?
It's tiger's
kind
blood.
of thing. The whole Renee Russo situation.
Wait, she's in that movie?
She is.
Yeah, it's another one of those like 80s movies where it's just like, if you stalk her long enough, she'll give in.
Come around, yeah. Yikes! Ouch.
Yeah,
And she does. He wins her
I suppose.
through pursuit. I having a blast watching it again.
80s.
Wild thing.
Wild thing. So what else did you watch?
Oh,
Just
I
that
watched
one classic?
I watched closer than I have ever watched before, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. We watched this yesterday.
That was your first time? Oh, so you've seen it before. I'm sorry. You said
I've
closer.
seen it before, but like I've never liked Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and I'm really getting to the bottoms of my feelings about it, because it has a lot to do with the reason I have not liked What About Bob, because they both have this plot thing where it's just like, you have to make room in your heart for the most annoying of people, which is a value I feel is true. But it challenges me, Darren. It challenges me. Like, I watch What About Bob, and I sympathize way too much for the doctor. I'm like, that doctor, he works hard. He has office hours. He should be able to vacation with his family
He doesn't deserve
uninterrupted.
this.
And then Steve Martin, because we've all been in that situation where you go into a public place, and somehow, like, you start an off-handed conversation with what you think is one of life's many extras. And that person is like, no, I'm co-starring in this situation. And then they're following you around and they're telling you boring stuff about their lives. And they're being weird. And now everybody's associating you with this weirdo. And you can't shake them.
And then you marry him.
And then you marry them. That's not how it happened.
So familiar. Okay.
We fell deeply in love. And it was great because when Brad and I were dating, he was at Barnes & Noble. He was stuck in the music department, so he couldn't really follow me around as much as he would.
But I experienced a lot of John Candies. When I was younger watching Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I think I was more like Lisa, where you go like, oh my gosh, Steve Martin's trapped with this crazy guy, and you understand and empathize with the madness that is circling this trip from New York to Chicago, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, you're almost there, Steve Martin. Now I watch it, and you see how his initial assholishness is his problem.
Well, he's clearly terrible with the service industry.
He's a total jerk, and he takes minor plights against him, or how he perceives them as minor plights, and then he makes it other people's problems. And my favorite scene in the whole movie is when he goes to the airport in Wichita to rent a car. And he goes there and it's not there, and he has to walk 3 miles back. And by the time he walks back to the counter, there's that really nice, lovely human being who has this bright, shining smile. And he goes, she goes, hi, how may I help you? And he just starts dropping F-bombs like, you need to get me a fucking car. He comes in at 10. And I have been in that woman's position so many times. Watching Planes, Trains, and Automobiles now, I go, dude, you're the problem. John Candy's not the problem. You're the problem.
Yeah.
I know that
Lisa's the problem.
toxic entitlement is the problem with society today. But at the same time, like, I socially awkward myself into sharing a bed with a stranger, and then that stranger is going to clear their nose for, I swear, like 40 solid seconds.
Lisa cannot take it.
Just in the beginning of the movie, I feel like within the first 30 minutes of the movie, there's horrible nose sounds. There's spitting of chaw.
Yeah, Dylan Baker with the chaw.
I had to get up and
I can do the sound right now, Lisa.
Leave the room. Please do not. Please do not. I agree with the message of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And What About Bob? I should open my heart to the nose snorters of the world.
I think, honestly, if you compare What About Bob and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I feel like what you're saying is more applicable to What About Bob than Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Where that guy is really infringing on his
And
space.
he is like a cancer on this doctor's life. You know, Richard Dreyfuss in What About Bob also suffers from entitlement and asshole nature. But by the end, when he's in an asylum and he's like lost his ability to communicate with the outside world, you go like, ooh, Bob.
Yeah.
I feel bad for you, Dreyfuss. But what I love about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is at the end, when they finally get to Chicago and they're at the L and they're saying goodbye and they say their goodbye, they get, hey, you know what a wacky time we've had. We've shared a few laughs, we can look back on this adventure. And then Steve Martin gets on the L going to his way and he leaves Candy. And
he has time to do the mental math.
And he does the mental math and it's the best use of flashback within a movie I've seen in a long time. I'm always complaining about, like, guys, why are you always flashing back to like 5 seconds ago?
We
Get
there.
it.
Yeah.
But the way it's used here is for him to revisit his adventure and reevaluate what actually was happening.
See it from a different perspective.
Seeing it from John Candy's perspective
Yeah.
and realizing that, he's actually suffering and he's lost his wife. He has no one. And that compels him to turn around and finally be a human being.
Yeah.
Right. Because the entire time he's with John Candy, he's using him for his salesman connections, and what maintains their relationship throughout the movie is John Candy going, well, I know this train person, I can get us on this train. I have the resources, we can get on this
I can
bus.
get some cash by selling shower rings as earrings.
Yes.
Yeah. So this
All
this
that being
watch.
said,
so
I
this
don't
watch,
like people who clear their nose, like in a really animated
I mean,
way.
it was giving you like the heebie-jeebies.
skeeves.
Yeah, the skeeves.
The skeeves.
So this rewatch didn't change how you feel about the movie in general as a whole.
I would say that this is the most I've enjoyed the movie.
Okay.
But it makes you uncomfortable.
It makes me super uncomfortable, as did the voodoo scenes in Major League.
Hots for bots. I've got a great Dennis Haysbert.
I don't see why we don't see more hats for bats. I thought that was really cute.
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, it came from the whole
Look,
golf clubs get hats.
Look, Major League, it's not. It's got problems.
As a child, my dad's a big time golfer, and I would pull the little club muffs off of his clubs, and I would put them on my hands. And
Is
play
that
with
what they're
them
called,
like
club
puppets.
muffs?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I've never shown any interest in anything my father has done.
I'm going to ask your dad, hey, Leo, can I see your club muffs?
Oh my God, he would lose his mind. He is in retirement, and he works 3 days a week at a golfing facility. What is it called? A golf course.
Yeah.
In exchange for free golf. They're literally indentured servituding my retired father for free golf. It's literally the most unjust thing I've ever heard.
Oh, well, he likes it, right?
He is beside himself.
Well,
Well,
there
you
you
know
go.
what? He went from the seminary to the military to government contracts, like everybody does who lives in the DC suburban area.
Yeah.
And he's a guy who likes to go to work. He doesn't know what to do with himself unless he has a place to go.
Yeah.
And so Brad's dad goes to the library literally every day, and my dad works for free as filling divots. I don't know what he does there.
Must be nice.
He gets to drive a cart.
Living the dream.
He touches club muffs.
Oh, all right. Lisa, what else for you? Is that it for your weekend tour?
Yes, I did watch the entire Explained mini-series on The Mind.
So you're done.
I think I've watched all of the Explained. The Mind ones are, of course, my
Your
favorite.
favorite? Yep,
And
yep.
I'm trying to enact some of what I learned from the mindfulness episode.
What's your
into
biggest
my
takeaway?
life.
What's your biggest takeaway of that whole?
My
entire
biggest takeaway is that I didn't realize that I am currently paying for both the Calm app and the Headspace app. So and I completely forgot. So I lack mindfulness to such a degree that I desire to be mindful. I'm paying to be mindful, and yet I have not cracked into my apps. And people who are mindful dread less. And as a person who lives with dread, as a person with an anxiety disorder, I could be a little bit more mindful. Yes.
So you see yourself working on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I can take another crack at meditation. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm excited to watch your journey.
Yay! Thank you. Well, I mean, literally, I've tried this journey before, as my iTunes apps store would tell you.
Well, you know what? I mean, it's okay. You take a stop. You pull off to the side.
Sometimes you just want Matthew McConaughey to tell you a sleep story, and he did on the Calm app. I recommend it.
Is that
it's
what
a
that
great
is?
story. Yeah, it's where they have different there's different elements, and there are guided meditations and stuff like that. But I paid for the app for the sleep stories, and it's literally just like what's the guy from Parks and Rec?
Oh, Nick Offerman?
Nick Offerman does one about the 3 little pigs.
Oh. I'm going to see if I can get a job telling sleep stories on
You
that.
would be so great at that. You have a very soothing voice. I can't listen to the women. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of women like, open your mind. They all have vocal fry. Take a deep breath.
Oh.
In. I can't even do it. I don't have a very soothing voice. I have a very grating
I would
voice.
say, open your mind.
But they do have like, oh, yeah, see, you're so good at it. You're like a natural. They do have, what's that painting guy? Bob Ross. They have episodes of Bob Ross where you just listen to the episode and you can listen to him paint the canvas with happy trees and stuff like that. And as a person who was raised on PBS, I really appreciate that. Yeah. And I can fall asleep to Bob Ross.
Yeah, who can't? Shout
I
out
just
to Bob
find
Ross.
myself,
Miss that guy.
I dream of just like resting my head onto his curly head of hair.
His little fro. Yeah.
Just like sleeping like a little kitty cat up there.
All right, Brad. How was your weekend, though? Speaking of little kitty cats.
Clouds.
It was good. It was a good week. I watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Watched Major League. Really enjoyed Major League.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about my excursion to the Alamo Drafthouse in Winchester, Virginia, which sadly none of my fellow dorks could have joined me on. Oh, that's not true. That's not true. Brian. I forgot about Brian because Brian's not sitting across from me. But Brian joined me on Monday, and that was a lot of fun.
Rubbing shoulders with famous people again.
That's right. That's
it's
right.
It's no fair that fun stuff happens on weeknights. Do you agree with me, Darren?
I agree. Yes.
Well, quit your day job.
I should.
And so we went out to the Alamo Drafthouse in Winchester on Monday and Tuesday to partake in a 2-day event with the Maltins, Leonard and Jessie. They came all the way from sunny LA to dreary, cold, blistering Winchester, Virginia.
Not your first time interacting with them, right?
No. We have seen them at Fantastic Fest a couple times.
Yeah.
We talked to them at Comic-Con.
So you're practically written in the will now at this point, right?
I would say that I am genuinely friends with them. Yes.
Yeah,
yes, I would. Like
dude,
legit
that's
friends.
Crazy.
Yeah, I can tell you that that's a fact because we're Facebook friends.
That is nuts.
And this time, Andy, so this is how it all got set up. A year ago, Jessie and Leonard put up on their website a new program called New Voices, where they were highlighting young or up-and-comer or less established film writers, film journalists. And I submitted to that and had an article appear on the webpage. And, I was very thrilled and honored to be on Leonard Maltin's website because that's insane because we all grew up reading his movie guide and watching him every day on Entertainment Tonight, right? And Gremlins too, so it was tremendously crazy and wonderful to be on his website and to still be on his website. They haven't taken me down. And so Andy thought that was cool. And Andy had met him at Sundance a couple years back when Andy attended, and when Andy saw that I did New Voices, he's like, hey, maybe you could connect me with Leonard and see if we could do something at the Winchester. So I sent an email to Jessie, and Jessie said, yeah, that sounds good. So I connected them. Yeah. And to continue the celebration of the 10-year anniversary of the Alamo Winchester, they had him and Jessie screen some movies. The first night on Monday was kind of like a lecture where they talked about their love of film, what it means to write about film, to talk about film, to celebrate film, to champion film. And they split that up with a series of short films as well. One was a silent short I had never seen before called It's a Gift. I would highly recommend seeking this short film out. I loved it. It stars a silent film comedian I'd never heard of before called Snub Pollard. And like it takes like, I don't know, 5 minutes and you're going, okay, well, this is just like a, you know, I've seen these kinds of silent films before. Okay, yeah. But then you meet Snub Pollard in his bedroom and he has like this setup like Pee Wee Herman from Pee Wee's Big Adventure, where he's pulling strings and things are coming out of the wall and there's little machines helping him cook breakfast and clothe him. And you go, oh, Tim Burton had to have seen this short film. So
it's an older short film.
Yeah, it's like 1932.
Oh, wow.
It's silent.
It's a gift, 1923.
1923.
All the right digits.
I had the right digits.
Yeah.
I had the right digits. Yeah, 1923. And then there's a sequence where when he leaves his house, he gets into this like metal bullet, this little like go-kart, and he picks up this comically large magnet, and that's how he travels around as a car drives by, and he magnets to the back of that car, and then zooms around the city. And it's extremely inventive. Loved it. So seek out It's a Gift.
Yeah.
Snub.
That's what I
That's
said.
an appropriate name for someone who has been snubbed by history.
That's
film history.
That's correct.
But not by the Maltins.
But not by the Maltins. Another film we saw was Hollywood Extra Girl, which was this 1935 short film about like a background player who dreams to be a star.
Yeah.
And it shows like the ins and outs of what it's like to be an extra on a Hollywood set in the early 1930s.
Yeah.
And she's making her way onto Cecil B. DeMille's set. And what the short film ends up revealing is it's not so much a short film as an extended trailer for Cecil B. DeMille's Cleopatra.
Fun.
Oh, wow.
And like it tricks you into like, ha! I've been advertising. And I loved that. I thought that
cool.
was really cool too.
Yeah.
And then I saw a Little Rascals short, and I've never been a fan of the Little Rascals. And I can't say that because I've never really watched it. This was literally the first Our Gang short I'd ever seen before.
Oh, wow.
But it did prove how I felt about them already, that they're annoying. and Alfalfa, comb your hair. You're not cute. I just don't see any appeal in
I watched
Little
the hell out
Rascals.
of the 1994 Little Rascals as a kid.
good,
though.
right?
No.
The song about a peanut, I can't remember.
I got
frankly.
2 pickles. I got 2
Yeah.
pickles. I got 2
no.
pickles.
Hey,
Hey, hey,
hey.
hey.
Okay. Even you guys doing it annoys me. So that's not really my thing. But it was really cool to sort of partake in this film lecture. You know, Leonard Maltin, for the last 31 years, has been he's been teaching a class at USC, a film class where he brings in, this week he's bringing in Ryan Johnson to screen Knives Out to his classroom.
That is so wild.
You know, he's had people Kevin Feige was a student there, and Kevin Feige has shown every Marvel movie to Leonard Maltin's class since Iron Man.
Really?
And he's had people like Taika Waititi present them, and you know, the directors of Captain Marvel and all that stuff. And it's usually a couple weeks before it comes out.
So they'll screen the film and then they'll dissect it?
They'll talk about it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, they'll do a Q&A kind of situation, and then the next day the class will actually talk about the film without the presence of the creative.
Okay.
And I mean, it just sounds like I want to get in on that
amazing class, right?
They invited me to partake in it when I'm in LA next. So it was, and what was so great about it is Andy's like, hey, you gotta hang out with me and the Maltins on Monday and Tuesday. And so we went all over Winchester, and I got to see what Andy does when he has, you know, talent in town. Yeah. And we went everywhere.
They went to that Tin Top wood shop place.
Oh, the woodcut art. Yeah. And that was, I'd never been there before. I'd seen the art, of course, because of Lost Weekend.
Yeah.
I bought a piece of art that they did a woodcut of Alan Moore. And it's a great likeness. The Watch the Comedian's button. Oh, it's like on his T-shirt. It's like, "Hello, I'm Alan Moore." It's very, very cool. Yeah. So I bought that while I was there. We walked by an antique place, and Leonard Maltin's a real big antique collector. So, of course, we have to stop on in and look at all the antiques. And that was fun. And Andy set it up so we went to the university, Shenandoah University, to see what their VR lab is up to. And apparently it's like one of 3 VR labs in the country that are associated with a college,
Like virtual reality.
Virtual reality, where students film the VR, perform in the VR, build the technology around the VR and the headsets and all that stuff, the programming and all that.
Wait, film so it's not video game VR.
It's not video game. It's not the Lawnmower Man.
Like what Jon Favreau was doing?
Not necessarily like that either. They film. They have a 360-degree camera, and they go and they film something.
Okay.
And then you put the goggles on, and you live in the stage. You live in the scene.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, I watched one. Or I watched two. The first one I watched was 9 minutes, and you put the headset on, and you're sitting at a diner in like a late 50s, early 60s diner. And someone serves you some food. You look to your left, you watch people eat your food. You look to your right, you watch those people eat their food. You can look into the kitchen, see the guy cooking the food. And these are actors. These are college kids,
right.
And adults too. You see the manager talking to the waitress. You see people eating in the corner. And then at some point, you notice that everybody looks behind you. And so I'm sitting on a swivel chair. So like I'm physically on a swivel chair, so I can swivel at the diner stool. So I swivel back and I see 6 black kids walk into the diner. And suddenly you go, oh, it's a protest. And these kids come and they sit next to you and you're with them and you get to see the environment change. And you have people come by and they shout racial epithets. The manager's trying to get them out. You got to get out of here, And they call the cops on these kids. And I'm watching this and you can look at the guy on your right and you go, this dude is pissed, but he is holding it in. And you look to your left, you're like, oh, this girl looks scared, but she's holding it in. And then I'm looking at them, and then I look up at the manager, and he's looking directly at you with eyes of hatred. And when I saw that, it was like being punched in the chest, and I immediately started crying. I had never experienced anything like that, and suddenly I understand VR narrative. And the power and the potential of this art form.
That's what's so great about Resident Evil 7. When we were at the Sears, we did that little demo. That was a demo not really connected to the main narrative, but when you're playing the game, it plays out like a horror movie that you're in that environment.
Yeah.
So when characters are talking to the main character, they're talking to you in the way that gentleman was looking and staring at you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
but that also looks like a video game.
Right, where this is like actors.
Real life, right.
And what it also showed to me is that for this to truly work, you need to have great performers.
Yeah.
Because I watched another one, which was like an active shooter situation where you were in a classroom when shots go off.
Yeah.
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
But like the kid actors were not up to snuff.
Yeah.
And so you were immediately pulled out of the environment because of that. And the first one, but you imagine like, okay, what would it be like if I got Daniel Day-Lewis in here? What would it be like if I was living inside Lincoln?
Yeah.
I would lose my milkshake.
Yeah, I'd lose my milkshake too.
When I bought my PlayStation VR, they have channels. They have YouTube has a VR channel that has content filmed in VR, like little shorts and things like that. And so you get an idea of projects like that, like the you look at something, think about like, I mean, it'll probably be like sensory overload, but remember Hardcore Henry?
Yeah.
And so like stuff like that, or there was another one where it wasn't action oriented. It was more like a drama, but I know initially when they started experimenting with narrative in VR, one of the main concerns was, if we have something of importance happening in a certain direction, how do you divert the viewer's attention to that thing as opposed to them just wandering, oh man, it looks so real in here. Now I'm looking off into the kitchen with the cook, but that important narrative thing is happening to your right.
So the way it works in that short film is like everyone looks behind you, and so you see everybody looking behind you, you turn around. Right?
So
it's interesting.
Yeah.
And they also talked about how when you're shooting in 360, how do you film that?
Right.
And that's a challenge.
Right.
And I thought that was really interesting.
That's awesome.
So we have invites to go back to the Shenandoah University at any time.
I want to go.
Yeah, me too.
We should definitely do that. The guy who runs the film department there, the head of film, he's made 300 films with Roger Corman. as
That's crazy.
as their music supervisor. He worked on Brain Dead with Bill Paxton and Bill Pullman.
Yeah.
Your favorite, my favorite.
Yeah.
No,
No.
it's an okay movie. It's a Roger Corman,
Yeah.
early 90s movie. A lot of talent going on in the Shenandoah University, and I'm very curious to see how that all plays out.
Imagine Gravity.
Yeah,
in
dude,
VR.
Imagine anything. Like to me, what I thought about was, when I go and I watch something at the Kennedy Center, and I go like, looks like there's a really good performance going on down there from my nosebleeds.
Yeah.
It looks like that's fun down there. I bet I can engage if I was a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Now imagine you're sitting in the stage
yeah.
experiencing that.
Yeah.
It was a little bit like that.
I wonder how it will work narratively with now you are when you were in the sit-in, you were essentially playing two roles
right.
at that time. So if you're doing a film where when you're watching a VR film in 360, you have to go what am I do
What's my place?
Who is the audience going to play?
So I mean, one of the things they have there is this giant warehouse, and they set a maze up. That's a physical maze, and then they give you goggles, and you walk the physical maze physically and digitally.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So suddenly you're like, okay, well, this is what it looks like in 2019. What does this look like in 2119?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
It's big potential.
Yeah.
Of course, I have a little bit of an old man get off my lawn response to it, and it was fun to talk to Leonard Maltin about this because we all get done, and I go, what does this mean for film? I guess two-dimensional film is kind of going to be like poetry, where 5 people read poetry in 2019, and that'll be the life of film. How do you feel about that, Leonard? And Leonard goes, sounds like a great time for storytellers.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. Well, that's the positive, take. It's all storytelling.
Yeah.
It's all storytelling. So that sort of shut down my that sometimes rears its ugly head.
Man, you think of what's Sam Mendes' movie coming out?
1917.
Imagine that in VR.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
Sounds like emotionally a lot.
Right.
What's interesting is for a film like that to truly work, it has to be a physical experience as well.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure they're going to get to that stage because they're working on it right now.
That's crazy. All right.
So and then the next day we had a secret screening. Spoilers: the secret screening was Citizen Ruth, Alexander Payne's first movie.
How was that?
I had never seen it before. I like Alexander Payne's films. I really like this. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
It's it's a satire where both sides of the abortion issue are lambasted. Laura Dern is this selfish, despicable woman who gets herself pregnant and arrested for huffing glue. And when she's in jail, the judge says, look, you're going to go to the clinic, and at the clinic, they'll take care of it. And someone in the media...
They're making her do it?
Yeah, well, they're not making her do it. They say, you can get it done if you want it done.
Oh, okay.
And you should. And then, the right-wing side of the issue learns of this, and she gets pulled out and gets at the center of both pro-choice and pro-life movement, and both sides are exposed to their very worst. And meanwhile, Laura Dern, no one actually cares about what Laura Dern is doing or wanting to do. No one actually is looking to help her as a person.
Yeah.
And I really liked that takeaway. I thought it was a pretty interesting movie.
Okay.
And it was great to see on the big screen.
Yeah.
And it was awesome to talk to Leonard Maltin, who selected it. It's one of his favorite movies. And get to talk to him about it and why they chose it.
Okay.
So we did get some time with them on the podcast. We're going to use that conversation with Leonard and Jessie will be out in 3 weeks. We're going to make that our Itmod Chatcast 50th episode.
Okay.
So be on the lookout.
Yeah. All right. That's it. That's all you got?
Yeah, that's all I got.
All right. Jennifer and I are steadily moving through His Dark Materials on HBO.
Is that any good?
I'm enjoying it. It's very interesting. Very high quality television show. what's her name? She was in Luther. Ruth.
Bader Ginsburg.
No.
Love her.
Man, she was in. Did you watch the show Luther? Idris Elba's show.
No.
Oh man, I can't remember her
I
name.
thought it was like Rebecca Ferguson or somebody.
No, not her.
Isn't the young girl from Logan?
Yes, and she's good in it. She's good in all the child actors. Anyway, it's a good show. I'm watching that.
Are you watching Watchmen as well?
I was just getting ready to ask you, what do you think about that most recent episode?
Loving it.
That opening.
Yeah.
Ruth Wilson?
Ruth Wilson. Yeah, she's great. She's
Googled
great.
it.
She's pretty intense in that show. But anyway, yes, she's great. Watchmen, like
That opening was great. I don't want to spoil it because
Okay,
our
I won't.
listeners may not have gotten onto the Watchmen train yet.
okay. So you're
good.
satisfied with the depiction of
Oh,
that?
hell yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Are you not?
I am, and I'm kind of wondering, like, why couldn't they have just done that, like, in the movie?
Well, I mean, the way they do it in the movie, I think, is also interesting.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother me the way how they changed it
Yeah.
in the film. What's great about the show is it's dealing with stuff that the movie is not like the original graphic novel is not dealing with. But it is still dealing with a political issue, with a human issue.
I'm really liking Tim Blake Nelson
he's-
and
that-
where they're going with him.
Yeah, and the fourth episode is his episode.
Yes. Yeah.
And it makes you want to go back and revisit his appearances in the previous 3 episodes or 4 episodes.
So is he supposed to be this iteration's Rorschach?
I don't think so, no. I think he's very different than Rorschach.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a mask that sort of evokes Rorschach's mask, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you can say it's a 1-for-1 situation.
And then the lady from Deadwood is she's great
Yep,
in it.
yep, yep.
So I'm enjoying that. I got to the theater. I got to check out The Irishman. And where did I see that at?
The Alamo?
The Alamo, yes. Oh, because I had that pizza. Oh, so good. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I haven't put my rating on Letterboxd because I've been sitting with the film. It feels like it's cut from the same cloth as Goodfellas, and I just mean that as a compliment. I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
to span such a large swath of time and cover so many different things happening historically.
It is the same kind of narrative as Goodfellas, or maybe even more like Casino.
Yeah.
And I think that The Irishman finishes the thought that began with Goodfellas, was carried on through Casino, and ends with The Irishman.
Yeah, that last shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit.
Like where that character is in the final scene of The Irishman.
Yeah.
I see a line there to the characters in Casino and Goodfellas.
Yeah. If you're fortunate enough in that life.
Yeah, if you want to call it fortunate.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's that conversation to be had in that too. And one of the big things. I'm just only going to briefly talk about it, but one of the big things initially when they announced that they were doing The Irishman was the de-aging technology, and I will admit, like, it took a little bit to
Early on, it doesn't look great.
But then after a while, like, I had totally forgotten about it.
Well, when it starts, he's really young. He's like in his early 30s.
Yeah.
And his eyes are like neon blue.
Yeah,
and that looks very alien and strange.
Yeah.
And then there's a flashback to when he's in the war and he's like in his 20s.
Yeah.
And he looks crazy.
Yeah.
But I like watching the same actor perform almost the entire life of this person.
Yeah.
And so while some of that uncanny valleyness is there,
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, is that any different than the suspension of disbelief you have to do when you watch a child actor, a teen actor, and an adult actor?
3 different.
Yeah, not really.
No.
So I don't know.
It didn't bother me and take me out of the movie like I
Yeah.
thought it was going
Yeah,
to.
same.
And like Joe Pesci, man, like it was. I didn't know I was gonna love old man Joe Pesci. Like,
he's
so good.
To me, it's Al Pacino's movie though. Like,
Yeah.
I love Al
Yeah,
Pacino.
he did his thing, and it was cool to see him acting opposite De Niro. Just not only their character dynamic, but just them two as
Icons.
seasoned thespians.
Yeah.
Getting to see them extend their working relationship beyond Heat.
Yeah,
on this-
I highly recommend the movie. I think it will play well on television. I mean, it's nearly 3.5 hours long.
Yeah.
But I am really glad that I saw it on a theater with a couple beers and a burger.
When is it dropping on?
I think it's Friday.
Okay.
Isn't it soon? I think
Yeah,
it's
the
real
Thanksgiving
soon.
Friday, right?
Yeah. So it's
okay.
this Friday.
Yeah. So I'd be curious to see once it gets wider release, what the general public's response, because critically it's been acclaimed like across the board.
There was no one in the theater I went to. There was like 12 of us.
Really?
And when we walked out, 6 of us hung out in the lobby, and we all loved the film. I have talked to at least one person, Lisa Bell Roden, who did not particularly enjoy the movie. But for the most part, everyone I've spoken to has enjoyed it. Yeah. Especially if they like that kind of Scorsese gangster picture story.
Yeah.
Which is why I have not been motivated to see it.
Yeah, Lisa's anti-Goodfellas.
I am.
Boo.
That's understandable.
I still want to show you the Godfather movies. You haven't seen those yet.
I have not.
I'm curious to see
And
what
you haven't
thought.
seen Casino.
I know zeitgeist stuff about the Godfather movies.
Yeah.
Italian people. Horse head in the bed.
Oh.
Offers people can't refuse.
That's right.
No,
Well,
that's
you've
it.
practically seen the movie then.
No, we're going to have to do it.
Yeah.
I think we're going to do it in December. I think we should make December Godfather month, Lisa.
Okay.
I'm not against it.
Okay.
All right. I saw Ford v Ferrari, a movie that
Who won? Spoil it. You don't have to.
Okay.
Because I don't care.
A movie I was not really looking forward to, but I tell you what, I don't know if it did help the presentation. I saw it at Tyson's in their IMAX auditorium, and
The Maltons loved it.
it was exhilarating.
Yeah.
Like I've never been like a Le Mans guy, because that's the endurance race where you just race for like 24 hours. So I didn't know how that was going to play, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be engaged in the drama, because from my understanding, that was only going to be a small portion of the movie. It would really be a drama between Christian Bale and Matt Damon, and them trying to come up with the car and the technology and wrestle with getting the okay to compete and beat Ferrari. But yeah, like Christian Bale is great. Matt Damon is great in it. Noah Jupe, who was in Honey Boy, is great. Like that entire cast. Just the movie is very well made. But when they get to that third act where they go to the Le Mans, I found myself like thoroughly engaged with it. Like I was really entertained, and so.
Sorry. It sounds like you're saying Lamaze, which sounds like
sorry.
a race where people are going while they go around
Le
the track.
Mans. I'm sorry, it's Le Mans, right?
Oh.
I
it's
have
Le
no
Mans.
idea.
I think it's Le Mans. I think it's Le Mans.
I know it's a
mispronouncing
Steve McQueen movie.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Breathe,
So,
Christian
yeah.
Bale.
He's great in it. But the movie I really want to talk about, because I keep thinking about it, is Shia LaBeouf's Honey Boy. Like I just mentioned, starring Noah Jupe, if I'm pronouncing it right, or Jupe, or whatever.
I think it's pronounced Lamaze.
Lamotte. He's playing a younger version of Shia LaBeouf, and Lucas Hedges is playing the older adult version, and Shia LaBeouf is playing his father in the film. And
He's a real clown.
yeah, that movie's great.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that movie. I don't know if it was because my recent I guess a resurgence of interest in Shia LaBeouf.
And when did that happen? After Peanut Butter Falcon?
Yeah, and so I saw Peanut Butter Falcon, and I always been say what you will about the Transformers films, and I used to try to make a case for them, but I will say, regardless of the quality of those films, like I always felt like Shia never phoned anything in.
I think Shia is great in those 3 Transformers films.
I do too, and so I've always been a fan of him in at the very least in that way. But watching him in Fury, David Ayer's Fury, and even with the behind the scenes rumors and hijinks and urban legends as far as like his method for that, and then also take into account like what happened to him, publicly, and his sort of like downward spiral. And those what do you call those things where he would, like, those performance art things he would do. I always found that like interesting, and I've been curious as to his mind state. So anyway, I see Peanut Butter Falcon, he's great in that movie. The movie is great. And then I watched that show where you eat hot wings and the dude interviews you, and you get a very candid Shia LaBeouf in that show. And so, I don't know, it gave me like a different perspective on him. And so I'm thinking about him as a person, and then everything that he lays bare in Honey Boy, because it tells the story of when he was young, a child actor, and his father being on set with him and coaching him through that part of his life. But then it also chronicles his run-ins with the law, like his trouble as a young adult actor in that period of time where he got arrested and was sent to the rehab. And in rehab, through therapy, he ended up making the decision to write a script, which would ultimately become Honey Boy. So it's kind of meta in that way. But he doesn't shy away from like his anxieties and his issues with that, and him having to come to terms with the trauma that he was experiencing, because the way it's portrayed in the movie, for a long time he was almost in denial, or maybe not even denial, but he just didn't see, because of how he viewed his father in a particular light. So it took some time for him to realize, how like detrimental like that relationship was between he and his father.
Yeah, his dad was like an incubus who
Yeah.
was living off of his son's creative energy.
Yeah.
And there was definitely like this power differential between them, where he was the father figure, but at the same time, he knows that if it wasn't for his son, he would more than likely be living on the street.
Yeah.
I would be very careful, though, watching Honey Boy and going like, I think I understand Shia LaBeouf better. Because he does, like, in all of his roles, he always has this frenetic energy. Like, he always comes off as, like, nervous, or he comes across as, like, super charismatic. But it's always, he always comes across as, like, something uncontainable. But at the same time, this film, though informed by his experiences, are coming strongly from his point of view.
Yeah.
And I think that he's an artist, one, and two, he's he feels like a largely performative person.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, Honey Boy is a fascinating watch, and I love it as kind of a creative, artistic, mental exercise.
Yeah.
Because really, it is a manifestation of almost like a journal.
Yeah. Yeah.
That he made when he was in some kind of rehab situation. But at the same time, like, it does also, because of that, also feel, self-indulgent and unfinished. That's the main thing I came away from Honey Boy with, where it's just like, well, Shia LaBeouf, your story's not over.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, like I agree with that, and I mean the fact that it feels like that, I kind of appreciate it, because I feel like it would have rang false to me if everything were wrapped up, because his story isn't finished, and because he said it himself, he's still growing and still searching and still trying to heal from what happened, because he went through a lot.
Yeah.
It's compelling, it's raw, and it's artful.
Yeah.
And it's one of the best films of the year.
Yeah. That's what I came away feeling like, man, is this one of my favorite films of the year? Between this and Peanut Butter Falcon, like, those two are in my
Is this
top
Disco's
10,
year
top
of
5.
Shia?
Ollie, yeah, and I'm surprised. Like,
Hot
where'd that come
Ones.
from? Yeah, and did you watch the Actors on Actors with him and Kristen Stewart?
No, not yet.
You have to watch. It's great. It's great. They share a lot of similarities in how they approach their craft and their appreciation of the craft.
It's just so nice that, he's got this very deep personal movie out there right now, and she has the same with Charlie's Angels.
Oh, all right. Did you see that? I did see that too as well, but my time is up for my week in Dork, so I'm
They're
gonna cut it short.
An upper and a downer. Like they might be like both the same herb, but one is like indica, and the other one was
Sativa.
Sativa. I was thinking stevia. Like one of them is very sweet and kind of healthy. No, neither of them are stevia.
Kristen Stewart was.
She's good in
It's
it.
a different side of her. Like I like seeing her.
I liked her.
I love seeing her.
Yeah.
She's super hot.
So you saw Charlie's Angels?
No.
Oh, all right.
I just like seeing her. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah, she was good in it. She was good in it. So that's gonna do it for my Week in Dork. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, we're gonna do something a little different for our review cast. We won't be reviewing a particular film. What we will be reviewing is Disney Plus's The Mandalorian. The first 3 episodes. We're up to 3 as of this recording, so we would be remiss if we did not spread our love and adoration for Baby Yoda.
So cute.
Oh yeah, and the guy with the mask who never takes it off, and Carl Weathers, and Werner
Mando!
Herzog, Mando. So yeah, when we come back, spoilers. We're gonna get to some spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, you need to subscribe to Disney Plus.
I don't think there's any way you can avoid Baby Yoda online.
It's crazy, right? Right. So yeah, check the show out. It is worth watching. It is really good.
Is it worth subscribing to Disney Plus?
After the 3rd episode, and considering where this story is going and how each episode is progressing, I would say
It's worth
at the very least worth the trial, like doing a trial to see how you feel about it. Because I think
Have you been watching a lot of Disney Plus besides The Mandalorian?
Yes, I've been watching Tron Uprising. I was just talking to Brian about that. My daughter has been watching. She watched the remake of Lady and the Tramp. We've been watching like some of the Pixar stuff. I'm attempting to go back. I tried to watch Endgame. I can't do it. It's too emotional. I'll talk about that off camera and why. But I'm gonna try. But yeah, I've been utilizing it outside of The Mandalorian.
I really enjoyed
And Willow. I just rewatched Willow.
Jeff Goldblum show.
Oh my
The
God,
whole
we're enjoying that. I'm like,
How great is that?
he's becoming one of my like prophets. I love this guy. Everybody could be a little bit more like him.
Right?
He's
Jeff
pretty
Goldblum.
good. He's pretty
Yeah.
good. We watched Encore. I wasn't a fan of that.
No.
And Mick Garris's Fuzz Bucket.
And I'm gonna check out Free Solo.
Oh yeah,
I didn't get
you
to
should
see that in
definitely
theater.
watch that. Yeah.
But yeah, when we come back, The Mandalorian.
Mando.
Hey, this is Liz from People I Think Are Cool, a bi-weekly podcast where I interview my favorite creatives from across the globe. If you're looking for a dose of creative inspiration, then go to peopleithinkarecool.com or subscribe to People I Think Are Cool on iTunes and Stitcher.
You like film, from cult to classic, from blockbuster to B-movies. And there just isn't that one place with all the fan fervor and passion that's covering the kind of mad, diverse brilliance that you love.
Well, that's where you're wrong.
AfterMovieDiner.com is that fan-built movie nirvana just for you, featuring the sweet, sweet writings of the wife dork herself. AfterMovieDiner.com. Go there. Be the best you can be.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. This week's review cast is for Disney Plus's The Mandalorian chapters 1, 2, and 3.
Because they fancy.
Yes.
Fancy.
Yeah, so apparently the big deal now is The Mandalorian, or Baby Yoda, if we're going to be honest.
I'd say Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I'd say the whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very happy that the internet has fallen in love with another cute little plushie.
Are you pleased with so let's talk about what were your expectations prior to actually seeing the first episode? Was there a lot riding on this for you?
I don't know if a lot was riding on it.
Yeah.
I don't think my Star Wars fandom has ever been as much as it was when I was a kid.
Right.
Of course, I really liked Force Awakens. Not a fan of Rogue One. Not a fan of Solo. The Last Jedi is my jam.
High five.
Love The Last Jedi. So going into and I'm cautiously optimistic about The Rise of Skywalker. The trailers look beautiful. Very curious. A little trepidatious about the whole Emperor thing going into Rise of Skywalker and the Rey stuff. And honestly, I'm sick of the online discourse around Star Wars, which we are contributing to. You are welcome. But going into The Mandalorian, I thought, hey, Jon Favreau's doing this show. He's executive producing it with Dave Filoni. I like the Clone Wars. I like Rebels. I mean, I love Rebels. This could be fun. Pedro Pascal. We all love Pedro Pascal. But I can't say that, like, when I pressed play on episode 1 of The Mandalorian, I was going,
Bursting
this better be good,
Yeah.
or like pretty neutral feeling.
Yeah.
That ended pretty quickly.
Yeah.
The opening scene of Mandalorian Chapter 1, you saw in the trailers that they were going for this Western vibe.
And so for those of you who don't know Miles Dork, he's a huge Western guy.
I love Westerns, and
Right.
I love sci-fi Westerns.
Yes, yeah.
There's so few of them. But when they go into the cantina and the telescopic door opens and the Mandalorian is standing in it, and then like these wind chimes kick in that Ludwig Göransson does. I've been watching your YouTube review cast that you've been doing with the Turtle Dork.
Oh yeah.
And when I watched that first episode, I did not hear the Creed score at all. When I watched the second episode, all I heard was the Creed score.
Right.
But those pan flutes or whatever they are,
Yeah.
when that doorway opens up, is very Western-y.
Yeah.
And I think the score in the third episode departs even more so. And I really like the score in the third episode. But now that I hear the Creed score, that's all I hear. But yeah, I love all the Western-y stuff. The bounty hunters, talking to his guild, getting the pucks, getting the fobs. It's basically like America post-Civil War, right? The Empire has fallen, the Confederacy has fallen, and the country, the Galactic Empire, not the Empire, the universe is trying to build itself back up again. And there are these little fragments of the Empire still hanging around. And that's where we meet the client, the Imperial client, played by Werner Herzog. And when you get to that scene, and the door opens for the first time, you see these ratty, disgusting stormtroopers.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I love the political and narrative setup of The Mandalorian, plus all the Western flavor that is being thrown around.
Lisa, what were your thoughts prior to? Were you super excited to see Mandalorian, or were you just wait and see type of attitude?
I think definitely a wait and see kind of attitude.
Yeah.
I like Brad, love all of the Skywalker legacy films. Not so much into into Rogue One. I am not into the animated series of Star Wars. I find them visually unattractive and boring. And so I was going in with low expectations of The Mandalorian, but at the same time, everybody's anticipating it. Everybody was excited. I wanted a piece of the action, and I came away really having a great time. I wouldn't go so far as to say I am loving it. This is totally Lisa's bag or anything.
But the second episode went a long way to securing a lot of your enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda, so sweet. I love all of the expansion of the fauna. I love to see the animals.
Yeah.
The blarg, so sweet.
Yeah.
I love all of that stuff. I think it's really beautiful, bringing in those rich tones of westerns that are also so prominent in the original Star Wars trilogy. The tans and the oranges and all of that good stuff. So I'm liking it. And I like a western. I think that if we were to bring it to full Lisa fandom, it would have to get a little funnier.
Okay.
A little more Firefly. You need a little more Firefly.
A little more Firefly in my sci-fi western.
How about you, Darren? What were your feelings going into The Mandalorian before you hit play on Chapter 1?
I had a mild sense of excitement, but I was also of the wait and see attitude, because I was curious as to see if this was, because with these last couple of years with the Disney acquisition of Lucasfilms and stuff like that, and the newer spin-off movies and stuff, I was hoping it wasn't just, okay, we have this property now, we got The Force Awakens out, we've got Rogue One and Solo and The Last Jedi, so let's just keep cranking out Star Wars stuff. And I just was hoping that it wasn't going to feel like an oversaturation, right? And I was hoping that it was going to be of quality, but also tell a unique story with a different slant or its own flavor. And like you, once I saw the initial episode and I did see and feel the Western vibe, I appreciated it. I still kind of have this criticism, but it's lessening with this most recent episode. The third episode has been my favorite episode, because you don't see the Mandalorian's face. You don't see Pedro Pascal's face. A lot of characterization will be translated through vocal performance, but also just action. Will it be physical or body language and things like that? But the very least, like for the vocal performance, there's not, to me yet, there hasn't been a lot of range to convey, what.
I think that's like intentional.
Yeah, I think that's the point. I mean, he's doing Clint Eastwood. He's doing Clint Eastwood in The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, and Fistful of Dollars. And what I love about that is how you do have to pay attention to his physical performance,
right?
Especially in the third episode when when his gears are turning and he's trying to decide what he's going to do. The way he inhales and exhales a breath at a certain moment is really satisfying.
Yeah, and so initially I was having a hard time connecting to him because he was it was like a cipher. Like I couldn't really connect to him emotionally because he was just like tonally was just one note, and I couldn't gauge like where he was. But as the show would progress through action, and I don't mean like shooting or things like that, but just through physical choices that he would make, like the moment where he's thinking, okay, what am I going to do? Because that particular moment in the third episode, that it was like a defining moment. Like his decision there kind of changes everything. It's going to put him on a particular course, and just the physical performance of that, I got what I would have gotten had he had taken his mask off and I could see his eyes and see the wheels turning. I mean, I got that just from, just subtle movements in his body language. And so I like how the show uses physical action. So even with in the opening of the third episode, when Baby Yoda hops out of his little carrier thing and unscrews the ball handle from the control console, and the Mandalorian takes that from him and says it's not a toy. And the way that he does that, and just the way that he says it's not a toy, it's kind of cold. Like he doesn't say, and I mentioned this in the review, he doesn't say that's not a toy, let me find something else for you to play with. He doesn't really care to appeal to the Baby Yoda to appease him or whatever. He's just, this is not a toy. Then you juxtapose that at the end of the episode with him, just the physical act of him unscrewing the ball and giving it to him. You don't see his face, he doesn't say anything like in a tone that I can confer, oh, he's changed now, because tonally he sounds different and more calm. He just the act of him giving that to him, juxtaposed with how he took it from him before, it just speaks volumes about the turn in that character. So that I appreciate it.
It also speaks volumes about how much experience he has with children, because that little baby's going to aspirate that thing.
Right? So what do you think about, what were your reactions to that reveal in the end of the first episode, and where, because after I asked you that, what are your thoughts on just narratively what the Mandalorian is doing, like story-wise? Are you satisfied with how things are being laid out?
Part 2 of your question, yes. Part 1 of your question, I had goosebumps, and I was not anticipating the asset, the bounty, to be what it is. And the thing is we can't say what it is even now, because George Lucas has never named that species.
Oh, so
it can't be Baby Yoda.
It can't be Baby Yoda because, well, it can be Baby Yoda. That's the thing. So, like, what is it? So it is of the species that Yoda and Yaddle belong to.
Okay, so they've never mentioned like what that's called. Okay,
they've never said what it is.
Brian and I were wondering that when we were doing like our watch.
And so and the reason they've never said it is because George Lucas purposely said he did not want to name the species. It was part of his plan to keep Yoda's race mysterious.
Oh, okay.
And so we did see Yaddle in The Phantom Menace as one of the 12 members of the Jedi Council.
Yeah.
So when you see this thing, you go, whoa, this story is going to be about that species, or a part of this story is going to be about that species. It's going to answer, hopefully, questions that we never thought were going to be asked. You know, so that's really exciting.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, okay, so the Empire wants this baby. Why does the Empire want this baby? Well, it wants to extract the necessary material. What does that mean? Does that mean midichlorians?
Does that mean splooge?
Does that mean, yeah, well, does it mean genetic material? And, you know, the Dr. Pershing, who is the doctor that's hanging out with Werner Herzog.
He's Salim in American Gods.
Yeah, he has a symbol on his shoulder that looks very close to the symbol that you see on the cloners of Camino in episode 2. So I'm guessing they want this baby to clone this baby for their purposes, or this baby already is a clone. So it's 50 years old, which would make its birth sometime around the same birth of Anakin Skywalker, possibly a year before, if we're to believe the 5 years after, or the 7 years after the Battle of Yavin that this is supposed to take place.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So what is this baby? I'm like, that question is incredibly exciting.
A baby who's already strong in the Force.
Yes. So, wow, that episode 1 ends. IG-11 gets a blaster in the head. Sad. Taika Waititi gone. But maybe Taika Waititi voices all IGs. We don't know. We don't know. And then the second episode starts, and it's Lone Wolf and Cub. And you go, okay, it's the badass and the child. That's a very, you know, typical scenario that you see in lots of fiction. It's not quite Lone Wolf and Cub, except it becomes definitely Lone Wolf and Cub in this episode, because this baby has purpose and has a point of view and does actions just like the cub
Daigoro.
Daigoro in Lone Wolf and Cub.
Yeah.
So, you know, that baby in Lone Wolf and Cub chose the path. It chose the sword over the ball. And you get the impression that this baby is making choices as well. And that's really exciting.
What was your reaction to that reveal, like when he saves the Mandalorian?
High five everyone around me who was no one.
We're all waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, you knew that
to
was gonna
watch
happen.
that baby use the Force.
And like, I mean, I love the whole setup. I love Nick Nolte as the Ugnaught Kuil. I love the Jawa train chase that happens.
Yeah.
I love how he's disintegrating Jawas like left and right. And I just found out, I didn't even notice it, but that disintegrator rifle that he has is the rifle that Boba Fett had in the cartoon on the holiday special. That first introduced the character of Boba Fett. Did not notice that until someone pointed it out on a podcast. I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. And I love that rifle that he's got.
Yeah.
What the hell is he saying? Oh yeah, Lone Wolf and Cub. So then the third episode happens, and yeah, he's like, okay, my job is to deliver this thing. I got to get the Beskar steel back to my coven because, you know, I got to protect the foundlings that are there. I'm a foundling. I've had pain. I want to help their pain. So he's not necessarily just a selfish gunman like Blondie from Good, Bad, and Ugly.
Right.
He has a purpose that he is doing as well. But in that brief period where he's saved by the child and he's delivering the child, he delivers it because that's what he's known to do his whole life. And then he's got to protect the coven, the Mandalorians who are in underground. But you see that he's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. He asks Werner Herzog, what are you going to do with it? He's like, yo, that's against the rules of the guild.
Yeah.
And then you see him go, no, all right, I'm going to go to war against these Imperial scraps. And then what is this show going to be? Going after episode 3, where he's John Wick.
He's John Wick now. He's on the run.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts at this point in the episode, Lisa? Because I knew you had to know that he was going to have this crisis of conscience and say, you know what, I'm taking the baby back. But once that happens, because it puts him in a perilous, and the baby Yoda in a perilous situation now, because it puts the Mandalorian guild at risk, because you know they were trying to remain hidden because there are so few of them. That's also mentioned earlier in the series. So
that only one is allowed out at a time.
Yeah,
I think the idea of these conflicting ideologies, the old ideology of the Mandalorian with the new ideology of anti-old empire. Like when he comes back and he has this ice cream bucket full of steel and one of his peers goes like,
John Favreau.
John Favreau goes like, you clearly got that from these old Empire dudes. Like, how can you even deal with them? And the boss lady is like, hey, we're Mandalorians. This is what we do.
The hunter and prey is to be a Mandalorian, and how can you call anybody who lives that way a coward?
Who
Right.
chooses to live that way.
Who chooses to live that way.
But then when he
Great
does
line.
ultimately decide to defy his Mandalorian way and go and retrieve what was once a target.
His bounty hunter guild.
Yes. Yeah. But then they are behind him. Where I think if you were to go by the laws of their guild, they should spurn him.
Well, I'm curious to see how that all goes. I don't know. See, those Mandalorians aren't necessarily all part of the guild. The Mandalorian, Mando, is part of the guild. He's hanging out with Greef Karga. But the Mandalorians aren't necessarily guild members. They're Mandalorians who have been in hiding ever since the Great Purge.
But I thought by
So the guild is like a union?
No, I thought that Mandalorians by necessity also had this kind of rule.
Oh,
where they're out getting steel and making armor and stuff. I thought that was their thing.
Well, the steel is important, but that's not necessarily it's not necessarily tied to the guild. They don't.
But like the lady who's taking the steel and making all the animals and stuff, she seems to imply that
not
there's some
everyone
kind of
gets
honor.
paid by that steel, is what I'm saying. It's a big deal that they get a hold of this steel from the Empire.
But I think it's a big deal that he can break this rule where he received the steel.
Yes.
So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just saying they're not necessarily attached to the guild. Is all I'm saying.
Well, all I'm saying is they're Mandalorians, and the Mandalorian rules are a set of old rules that he is defying.
Well, he's not necessarily defying Mandalorian rules.
I think they are. I checked the tape.
Because he breaks the guild rule.
Yes.
And
but the guild rule makes the steel that he takes to his lady.
Well,
yes.
Isn't it a Mandalorian rule that basically him going to take the package back?
Mandalorians go out. They can only go out one at a time.
Right.
And when they go out, they have to bring food, money, all that stuff back to them. All they're caring about is their clan, which is not associated with the guild. The Mandalorian, Mando, is getting that money through the guild.
It is culturally significant that because of his actions, all of these Mandalorians are willing to expose themselves.
Yes. That's the important thing, is that he commits the sin against Greef Karga and the guild, goes against the Empire, and they're like, fuck yes, fuck the Empire, and then they come out and help him.
This is why I don't like talking Star Wars with Brad.
So what was your reaction to that moment?
I mean, it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
It's super satisfying. I'm super excited to see where he goes and how he and whom we're calling Baby Yoda continue to serve each other and learn from each other. I think they both offer unique perspectives because of one's a 50-year-old baby and one wears a helmet all the time, are very mysterious.
Yeah. So has there been any mention of just through throwaway dialogue or whatever where he could be possibly, because he's on the run now, right? Mm-hmm. So I would.
He's on the run from the guild, not from the Mandalorians.
Well, and the Empire.
Right. So going by like those particular type of tropes, he's gonna go seek out somebody that he knows that can hide him. Look, I need some place to stay. Or have they spoken about a specific place where he potentially could go?
I have no idea where he's going to go.
Okay.
I hope he goes back to Kuil at some point. He's got a buddy. Yeah. He's got the Ugnaught. Yeah. But we know that like Gina Carano is going to be in this.
Say, where is she?
We know that Ming-Na is going to be in this. There's lots of more characters still to come.
And they're only, because the next episode is 4, so there's only 8 episodes. So we're almost at the halfway point.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to if this story, because it really, that's another thing that I was kind of initially surprised, but obviously now in hindsight it makes sense. It's called The Mandalorian. Is that even though the universe in which this story takes place is vast, right? It still feels very intimate and focused just on we're just following him.
Yeah.
We don't cut away like in Game of Thrones to someone on another planet with a parallel storyline that eventually
Not yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's great about this sci-fi world building is that you can grab any yarn and just follow it. You can grab the yarn of Boba Fett. Oh, what kind of culture would he come from? What is a Mandalorian? What kind of traditions are Mandalorians going to have? What kind of cultural baggage are they going to bring to a situation? Like, the possibilities are bottomless.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about? I've been hearing there are a lot of complaints about the run times of the episodes.
Oh, how they're
being so
irregular?
short. Well,
I kind of dig it.
I do too.
Same.
I do too.
They're as long as they need to be.
Yeah, and so if you're getting across in 37 minutes what you feel is important or pertinent, do it.
How often do people complain about Netflix Marvel shows? Like, oh my God, there's so much filler, even within 13 episodes.
Right?
Yeah, because you're forced to do an hour.
Right.
Nobody opens a novel and goes like, how come all of the chapters are not 12 pages?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I get it. I think it speaks to just how much people are enjoying and like what they're given, that they want more. But, it helps to understand that maybe too much of a good thing could eventually be bad, and you end up having filler episodes.
What you're going to end up having is 8 episodes that vary in length that will feel like a movie.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that. Like if you watch episodes 1, 2, and 3 back to back, they flow into one another seamlessly.
The only issue I have with episodes 1, 2, and 3 is how in episode 3 they repeat the armorer sequence with like the same flashback setup.
Well,
it feels a little clunky. Now they reveal more information
Right.
in that second Coven appearance, but it's a little. It doesn't quite gel for me.
Okay, so do you think? Because I just noticed, that on his right thigh, that piece of armor has not been upgraded yet. So,
I have not noticed that.
So I'm assuming because when they go to the flashback sequence, they at the very least this time they expanded a little bit more. You go further, so I'm wondering like if he goes back to fashion this other piece, will they go further into what happens when they open the door and the robot is there?
The super battle droid.
Yeah.
You know what's cool, and I had not really thought about this, and maybe it's built into the narrative of other Star Wars stories, but how the events of the Trade Federation and the Separatist movement and the battle droids would cause droid racism. So when you watch New Hope, and they're like, no droids, get those droids out of here. And when you see the Mandalorian go like, I'm not going to get on that speeder with that droid. Get me that junky other one. I refuse.
Yeah.
It's because his parents were killed by droids.
Yeah.
Like all these people had really terrible experiences with battle droids.
Yeah,
I never thought about that before.
Same. That's pretty cool. Huh. All right. So far, it's safe to say you're satisfied with where they're going.
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
It's my favorite Star Wars since The Last Jedi. But like, if we're talking about all the Star Wars material that has come out of the Lucasfilm Disney merger, Last Jedi and these first 3 episodes of The Mandalorian are easily my favorite.
I love the use of practical effects in the show, but I also can't help but wonder if for some of the sequences in the environments, if Disney is using, or if Jon Favreau is using the technology and the techniques that he did for The Lion King, like shooting in virtual reality for some of those environments and sequences. Do you know?
I have no idea.
I'm sure if he wanted to, he could.
Yeah, I know that they cost about $12 million an episode. And I know that there is more digital in there than we think. I was listening to an interview with Deborah Chow, who directed the 3rd episode, who is the first female Star Wars director.
And I hear she's doing the entirety of the Obi-Wan
Kenobi
show.
And
well, congratulations to her for being. I mean, it's about time, obviously.
For sure. And Bryce Dallas Howard is directing an
Coming to
episode
do
this
one,
season
yeah.
too. But she was talking a lot about the blue screen that's in the film or in the show, and I mean, clearly there's blue screen in it, but it's pretty good, pretty good. Blue
She
screen.
knocked it out of the park. Brian and I were noted. I noted that once he goes back to get Baby Yoda, I automatically got hard boiled vibes.
Oh, and she in her interview references Hard Boiled.
I knew it.
Her dad's a big time, or was, he's passed away. Her dad was a big time Hong Kong action fan.
Okay, Brian.
And so she wanted to bring Hard Boiled into that sequence.
Yeah, knew it. That's the first thing I mentioned. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen it, again, at the very least, if you're able to sign up for a trial of Disney Plus, there is a plethora of content even outside of The Mandalorian. If you are any type of fan of Disney as far as their Pixar films, their classical animation, the Marvel films, if there are any MCU films that you don't have on physical media or digital, all of them are on there except for Spider-Man, the Sony Far From Home Spider-Man, and also Into the Spider-Verse.
And
The Incredible Hulk.
Infinity War's not on there yet either.
Not yet. It's coming though.
Yeah,
it's coming. But yeah, and there's a bunch of older films. I was just mentioning. I watched Willow. All of the weird, lesser known Disney movies that will come on the Disney Channel. There are television shows from the Disney Channel, Disney Plus. The Tron films. So yeah, there's a bunch of content worth checking out. But at the very least, you will get to see The Mandalorian. And I'm hoping that with the Captain America and Winter Soldier and with all the Marvel TV shows, I hope they also adopt a similar format of making the episode length just tailored to what the narrative dictates.
And I love waiting a week.
It's not bad, right?
Yeah.
Gives you something to look forward to. It's appointment viewing is back.
And I really appreciate, like, Friday comes around, watch the episode, get online, see what people are saying, listen to podcasts. It's really cool.
Yeah. So hopefully there's more good things to come. That's gonna do it for us. Wife Dork, what are you looking forward to this week besides Thanksgiving?
My bad is that I feel like there's too much action and I find action boring. And then my ugly is he shoots a lot of people.
He
does. Just without care.
Burns.
So many just straight up like his peers. Like the guy from work, he murders. There is no respect for life on the show. I don't like to use the phrase respect for life, but you know what I mean. The stakes for these people are very high.
Well, if we're going by the Western, life on the frontier was a lawless time, right?
Yeah,
rough.
I think
like that 3 shootouts a show. If we stopped talking about the runtime and started talking about just deaths. I mean, I swear, a baker's dozen per ep. At least.
He's straight up disintegrating people. Shoot first, ask questions, never.
What am I looking forward to this week? I don't know. I have not been to the movies in forever.
You're going to watch Knives Out again, Lisa?
No, I'm not going to watch Knives Out. Is that coming out this week?
It is.
It is. Queen and Slim comes out this week. We have to see Won't You Be My Neighbor.
Yes, I still haven't seen that.
That's not what it's called. What's it called?
It's called...
I'm sorry, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yes.
I just need to get out of the damn house is what I'm looking forward to. I feel like I've been a negative Nelly this episode.
No, it's
don't like planes, trains, and automobiles.
No.
Lukewarm on the Mandalorian.
You just don't like fighting with me about the Guild.
Oh.
Being a dick about the Guild.
I'm not being a dick.
All right, you can follow her at Sidewalk Siren and at Baked Dork. Are you baking anything for the holidays,
No.
Baked Dork?
I haven't. On Wednesday, so we do a potluck situation. So I'm doing sweet potatoes again.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a little side sweet potato casserole for Brian, even though he's not here, because I know he loves the sweet potato casserole. How do you feel about the sweet potato casserole?
I'll eat the shit out of it.
Yes,
Not that there would be shit in it, but I'm just saying I would eat it.
Yeah, I do. I like to do it mashed. Like some people do it where it's still chunky. I like to do it mashed. Yeah. Like some kind of crunchy pecan situation and marshmallows. I don't fuck around.
I'm good. I need it. All right. Yes, you can follow her at Baked Dork and at Sidewalk Siren on Twitter and Instagram. She's also at Baked Dork on Letterboxd. I'm sorry, at Sidewalk Siren on Letterboxd.
Yes.
B, what are you? What is your bad and your ugly, and then what are you looking forward to?
The bad is the awkward staging of both of the mirror staging of the Mandalorian Coven and the flashbacks being almost identical.
Yeah.
And the ugly is that egg yolk. Yeah. When they cut that in and they just dive in, I was like, oh.
But imagine if that was like some kind of like mango sorbet.
Okay, that's
I
different.
don't know.
Brad doesn't like sticky hands.
The way I that is absolutely why I find it gross. It's not that it could be filled with Cadbury egg. I just don't. I love Cadbury egg.
Really?
You don't like Cadbury egg?
No.
Oh, I love them.
Brad is half British and therefore born from a Cadbury egg.
Yeah, that's true. Hatched.
Oh, gross.
Yeah. You know, like, I don't know. I just really like the show, guys.
That's good.
I want to talk about the Trandosians. The Trandosians.
That's good. All right. What are you looking forward to this week?
Queen and Slim in the theaters.
Yeah.
My most anticipated film for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's it.
That's about it. Mm-hmm. All right. You can follow him at MouthDork on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, and Untapped. I am Darren Smith, the Disco Dork on all social medias. I'm looking forward to Queen and Slim. I'm also looking forward to A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. And that is it.
Fistful time.
Yeah, we are going to have a fistful of Whodunit?
Yeah.
In honor of Knives Out, which also comes out, but I've seen it. So
Humble brag.
Be on the lookout for that. Is that going to be our review cast?
I'm not going to watch it again. So if you guys want to,
Are you going to watch Queen and Slim?
If you want to do Knives Out, there's plenty I want to talk about. I remember it pretty well because of how traumatic it was. Like you remember traumatic experiences way clearer and crisper.
Okay.
So.
All right.
So
Knives and Out. Knives and Out.
If you can check that out over the weekend, ladies and gentlemen, do that because that will be our review cast, and we will be getting into spoilers.
And for those that were expecting a 21 Bridges review cast,
pranked. We don't know how pranks work.
We just got excited about the Mandalorian. We did see 21 Bridges, or I did.
I did.
Oh, and Lisa did.
And Darren did.
I saw the trailer.
Oh no.
Yeah, Darren did not.
Darren
see
has
21
some
Bridges.
really solid.
So I saw the movie.
He has a pretty
Ouch.
solid opinions as if he had seen the movie.
I liked it. Go see it, Darren.
I'm going to go see it. I will talk about that on my Weekend Dork next week.
And buy your tickets to Eyes Wide Shut on 12/8.
12/8, yes.
Come hang out with us. The
Yes.
password is Fidelio.
Oh, yeah. That's going to do it for us. Thank you all for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week. And until next time.